Welcome to Insight Marketing Success, the podcast where marketing knowledge meets real-world experience, from vision to execution.
Hi, Robert. Welcome to Insight Marketing Success, this podcast. So I have the pleasure to know you a little bit, but for our audience, can you tell us who you are?
So I'm Robert Presser. I'm the president of Acme Engineering Products of Montreal. This company was founded by my father and grandfather in 1956. So we have a long history as a family business, and we're a worldwide company. We have partners around the world in China. We have a joint venture in India, partners in Europe, in the US. We sell internationally for 3 environmental product lines: gas detection, automatic strainers, and big electric boilers, which is the picture you see behind me. I actually don't have an engineering degree, but I say I play one on TV. I have 2 business degrees. I also write on political economy. I've been the chairman of a Federal Crown Corporation in Canada, so I have a varied professional experience.
And your headquarters are in?
Montreal,
Canada. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, and your title currently at the company is what?
President.
President. Prince CEO. All right. Very good. Very good. What's the biggest marketing challenge you have faced, and how did you solve it?
The largest challenge we have is maintaining contacts that you've developed in large organizations. We are a small organization, and we deal with very large organizations like engineering and procurement contractors around the world. And so you put a whole bunch of effort into reaching out to these people, cultivating a relationship, probably doing a project with them, and then they disperse. So you can invest heavily in creating an image for yourself with a large corporate buyer, and then within 18 months, you're completely forgotten because the people move on or departments are reorganized. So you like to say that you want to develop sustainable relationships, but it's the nature of our clients' organizations that makes that a real challenge.
So how do you solve that problem? How have you been able to, to make sure that you are not forgotten?
Well, I can't help them to remember me, but what I can do is find new clients. And the one thing that our digital marketing strategy has done for us is that it brings us new clients every day. We are in niche market businesses, most notably these days on the electric boiler side, because decarbonization is a major issue across industries and institutions and governments. So every day, our presence on the web and through efforts like this one, people discover us and they come and bring us inquiries. So we don't have to do a lot of physical outbound marketing, but we do have to create an image, a branding exercise so that we're visible for the people who want what we make.
Awesome. So in my experience, what you said, it has been key. The part about niche, finding a niche where you can succeed and be very good at, has been very successful for many other clients that we have advice and so forth. So congratulations, that's great.
Thank you.
So how was your approach to marketing evolve over the past few years, especially when it comes to the digital transformation?
Well, in the old days, you had to rely on a trade show to cultivate relationships. We did a lot of direct mailing. I remember stuffing envelopes with literature and cover letters and buying lists of companies and doing a lot of physical marketing. That doesn't mean that trade shows aren't important. You can still benefit from face-to-face discussions. Plus, there's a lot of selectivity today. You don't go to a trade show unless you have a real need. So the people who come to talk to you self-qualify. We don't have a lot of general conversations anymore at these physical trade shows. People come with specific requests. But the corollary to that is that you cannot just show up at a show without any pre-show marketing and preparation. You have to make it clear to people that you are there and that you want to see them. And that can involve selecting a list of attendees to reach out to them before the show. And there's also post-show marketing to reinforce the conversations that you've had. So physical presence coupled with digital outreach before and afterwards is a good model.
Awesome. And some companies, in fact, even do schedule meetings at the trade show. So I don't know if you do that, but some companies in the past, I have seen them schedule actual meetings with executives there.
We do.
Oh, awesome.
However, the shows that we attend have become extremely large. So getting people to commit to a face-to-face meeting at a given time and actually show up without distractions is a real challenge.
Yeah, got it. All right. Can you share a campaign with our audience that really moved the needle for your brand and then share what made it successful?
You'll be surprised by what I'm going to tell you. In the early 1970s, my father was asked by the local consulting engineering community in Montreal to develop a commercial gas detector because previously it was a lot of industrial style instrumentation. So the first thing my father did was produce a piece of literature, and he mailed it to something like 5,000 consulting engineering offices across North America.
Okay.
And that was in the day when paper got looked at.
Mm-hmm.
And for the next 20 years, we would see that unit show up in specifications all over North America.
Wow.
So sometimes the old-fashioned paper model works. But today, you're in a very crowded environment. You're competing for attention, and people don't have the luxury anymore of sitting down and reading technical literature the way they used to. I would say a 90-second video is probably more effective these days on garnering people's attention than that piece of literature.
Right. How do you balance brand building efforts with the need to drive short-term results?
Well, we have different product lines, and each one of those product lines has a different sales cycle. So in the gas detection business, you can quote and deliver a system inside of 6 weeks. So that's the business that allows you to eat every day. Then in the filtration business, the turnaround from order to shipping may be 3 to 4 months. So that's your next level of revenue. And then the boiler business is more long-term. It can be 6 months to a year. So having a product mix, each with its own delivery profile, allows you to generate the cash flow to survive.
Okay, so what you're saying is then there's diversification of your product line.
Yes, but just because you have a diverse product line does not mean that your delivery and payment schedules could not be coordinated. You could have 3 product lines and they could all be very long sales cycles.
Right.
So if that's the case, you better have deep pockets to survive the time when you're not generating any revenue.
A lot of credit too. So yeah, understandable. What role does customer feedback or data play in shaping your marketing strategies?
Our customers are not shy. If they're not happy with what we've built, we're going to hear about it. Also, as part of our ISO 9000 quality system approval, we are required to send out questionnaires to our customers every year, asking about responsiveness, quality, pricing, how they see us against our competition. So we get feedback not only from end users, but in some of our product lines, we have a large representation networks, and our representatives are a very effective sounding board between us and the end user because they consolidate a broad range of opinions of how we're performing.
Awesome. How do you approach storytelling in your brand communications?
We ultimately are selling expertise. I like to say that we're an engineering company that builds products because in each of our product lines, there's a high degree of customization. In many cases, people come to us as a vendor of last resort because nobody else wants to do this crazy thing that some engineer dreamed up. So our first level of confidence building is that we have the engineering and historical know-how to make it work.
Awesome. So for those people who don't know, you install very complex boilers, industrial type boilers, right?
Well, as one of the products, yes. So we don't install,
Okay.
we supply, but sometimes we end up doing a complete system where the boiler per se is only one part of a larger package in a boiler room that's producing heat or hot water, steam or hot water.
Okay. Fantastic. What marketing trend or channel are you most excited about right now and why?
I would say packaged solutions is the most interesting thing to us because you move from supplying a product to supplying a solution. And we look for partners around the world who are capable of doing that packaging of a complete solution to a customer. And that usually means building part of the product either in country or in theater. In other words, we will try to build in Europe as much as we can for Europe. And the same thing applies to India and China, the Middle East. So it means that you need to have very good partners. You have to trust them, and you have to be able to manage complexity because you move from offering a single product to something that gets put together like a Lego kit with pieces from many different countries and suppliers.
And then you have to test it, and then you have to make sure it works, and so forth.
Correct. On site in real time.
Right. So solutions, and that's what I have heard again and again at a small level and a high level. People, end consumers or end customers want solutions, full solutions, not just give me the part and then I have to figure out who's going to do this and who's going to do that. They want the full
Correct.
solution. So I couldn't agree more. I have seen that a lot. And what's happening is there is a push for efficiency and productivity in companies. And that's why people want solutions, you know? So this worldwide efficiency and productivity is demanding that you give a full solution instead of having people to try to figure it out. So,
But there's been a move in the engineering community to write specifications that are performance-based specifications as opposed to product-based specifications. I have this coming in, I want this coming out. From a client perspective, they're prepared to entertain solutions with various different engineering packages. There are more ways to do the same thing. So you propose your best way, and as long as you meet the performance spec, we'll consider it.
Okay, awesome. What metrics matter most to you when evaluating the success of a marketing initiative?
I want to see what comes back to me. If I've sent out a campaign by email, then we're going to be able to identify how many leads came back to me from that campaign. If we're doing SEO, then I'm going to look at those click-through rates and how many people took action. Never mind that they looked at the literature or went to the site. How many were encouraged enough to send a request, ask for more information, even download a piece of literature? That's how we will determine the success or the relative efficiency as compared to an industry standard. If we have a click-through rate of 0.2% and the industry standard is 0.07, then we know that we're doing something right.
Okay, so it's actually results, right? Results that you're looking for.
Correct.
How do you foster creativity and collaboration within your marketing sales team or with your agency partners?
I don't have a lot of agencies who work for us. Yes, I have specialized outside providers, but because we're in such a niche market business, it's not obvious on how to start out. So I look for people who have worked for similar highly technical customized products, and I try not to bias them. In other words, I say, look, you've worked in many different fields. You've worked in our field. I'm prepared to listen to what's worked for others and see if we can adopt that to work for us.
Very cool. what's one piece of advice you will give to a company struggling to differentiate themselves or their brand in a crowded market?
I think first you have to take a good look in the mirror and be honest with yourselves. What are you offering really? Don't think that if you've been competing on price for the last decade of your existence, that from one day to the next, you're going to be able to upgrade yourself into a premium brand. It takes a long time to turn around your image. Also, manage your risks carefully because you can destroy your branding with one wrong move.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So what advice would you give yourself if you could go back in time to the young Robert who started when you first started working at Acme? What would you tell yourself?
Well, when I started, it was after the Great Recession of the early 1990s, and I had to rebuild a business. So, just to give you a frame of reference, we were over 100 people in the late 80s. And then, because of government decisions that affected product lines beyond our control, when I showed up in 1993, we're down to 12 people.
Oh my God.
So, in one office. So, the advice I would give myself is go where the money is and sell. Okay. It's very nice to say we have to do reorganization and we have to fix our literature. Everything that you do has to be directed towards generating profitable revenue.
Yes.
And if you have to let go of a legacy, let go of it. If it's not making money for you, if it's not working for you, it makes no sense to perpetuate that situation.
Okay. Okay, I'm curious. So you went from 98 to 12 people. And so from there, and you went to one office. And so from there, you grew in the following years, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. How many people work for your company today?
Well, we have about 50 people spread across our Montreal companies. We have about 100 people at a joint venture in India. And we adopted a model where we make sure we have partners who have assets we can use. In other words, in the 80s, we had our own metalworking shop.
Okay.
I don't need a metalworking shop. What I need is the ability to do the engineering to give to a metalworking shop. So we use metal shops, which are very capital intensive, in our various markets, be it China, India, the US, Canada. So we don't have to own them to use them.
Right.
So that's critical for us.
Okay. Awesome. All right. My last question. What advice would you give to a new marketing professional starting their career?
There's lots of interesting tools out there, like AI. Everybody wants to use AI. But I think that a lot of young people will use AI as a crutch. AI is not a replacement for individual creativity and judgment. If you rely only on AI, you will end up with generic materials. So if you came into the marketing world thinking that you have a brain, use it. Don't rely on a digital crutch.
Awesome. Awesome. Robert, thank you very, very much for being part of Inside Marketing Success. Is there anything you want to tell our audience that you any piece of advice or wisdom?
I'll give you an anecdote.
Yes.
President Eisenhower in the 1950s had 3 boxes on his desk. There was one box that says important and not urgent, urgent and not important, important and urgent. And that box applies today. So instead of running your days as madly off in all directions, think about those 3 boxes and deal with things accordingly.
Awesome wisdom. Thank you very much for being part of our podcast. And
my pleasure.
Look forward to continue working with you.
Me too. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to Insight Marketing Success, where marketing knowledge meets real-world experience from vision to execution.